This is a weird video. Don't know that I've ever made a video twice, but had a different feeling like this. It's complicated. This is a complicated topic. We're talking about beat 'em ups and that he lied, but there's more to it than just the intentional lie and the experiment that he's going through. And for those that are tuning in and don't know what's going on, before you watch this video, I want you to watch a 36-minute video or so that BeatEmUps put up himself. I'll put a link down in the description. And I mean, if you even want additional context on top, I'm going to link his podcast episode he did yesterday as well, where for the first, 40-ish minutes to an hour or so, he talks about it and takes people's questions as well. And so just to give you a brief summary on what happened, and this is literally the quick and dirty, BeatEmUps back on June 21st in the middle or 3/4 of the way through an episode of the Nintendo podcast, put out some leaks and rumors. Let's be clear, they're just rumors, but he kept using the word leaks and rumors, so we'll stick with it a bit. And about there being a direct in July, and about a bunch of games that were going to be in that direct. Now, the context of what he said, there's a lot of things in there where he did start off pretty strong, saying that I know there's going to be a direct in July, but I can't tell you how I know. And then he gets to the game section, and by the end of the game section, he talks about how, I was pretty skeptical about this. Don't take my word for it. That kind of stuff, which, is pretty typical rhetoric, actually, in the YouTuber space. Whenever a YouTuber does have their own source and they're deciding to put something out there, but they're skeptical of their source. This is actually really common rhetoric. I don't know if BeatEmUps was aware of how common this rhetoric is, but that doesn't really matter. The point is he did that, and he let it go. He essentially didn't talk about it again until, yesterday. And he came out and said it was a big lie. I'm not going to put any clips of his video in here. Again, go watch it for yourself. Get the full context for yourself before you see this reaction. And he did it as a experiment. I was going to say a thought experiment, but he does mention in the video that, his goal was to try to see if there was a way that he could stop fake leaks or leaks in general, but more specifically like fake leaks. He really wanted to see if there was a way to put a stop to it. And he went through the psychology of it all and how it all went viral, and people started like quoting him without even sourcing who it was, and it was spreading on Twitter, and there was millions of views, and not all of it was sourced to him, a lot of it missing the context. And I gotta say that my initial reaction, which is what I did yesterday, it didn't feel good. Yeah, he had a lot of clips of me in there, a lot of clips of other content creators as well. And it just didn't feel good. I don't know if I felt like he was attacking me, but I did feel a little bit like he was attacking the whole culture of speculating on rumors and leaks, even though he does say in his video that he's not poo-pooing on the content creators. He's not poo-pooing on talking about rumors and stuff. He's more so worried about how things get framed and how a rumor becomes a leak, and then the leak ends up missing context of the original rumor because maybe they didn't do all the stuff back there, and then there's confirmation bias and authority bias and all this other stuff. Again, go watch his video. And I first want to address why I took down my original response on this, which was me being a little bit more upset. I didn't approach it with as level-headed of a thought process as I should have. As an example, there were some DMs I showed in there, nothing major. There was no like, oh my God, exposed sort of thing. I was just trying to proving that BeatEmUps and I had a conversation, a friendly back and forth at one point, like back in 2020. And then since then, he hadn't responded. And this was because I was really stuck on this point where he talked about his DMs being open and that he talks to people. And, I showed for like 3 straight years he wouldn't respond to any message I sent or even looked like he read it. And that's my bad, because that was a really poor thing to do. Because while it provided some needed context on why I specifically wouldn't think he would respond if I reached out, I did reach out after the video because I thought I had this really cool concept for a video. And I figured, you know what? It's been 2 years. Let's just see what happens. He did say his DMs are open. And he did respond. And BeatEmUps and I had some back and forth over the last 12 hours or so, right? I'm not going to go into any of the details of our private conversations because that's exactly what it is, a private conversation. But this is a very touchy topic, especially for him, the one who did it, and the emotions of dealing with it all. It's been very clear in his public videos how sorry he is and how much, if he could go back in time, he would have never did it to begin with. But once the cat was out of the bag, he wanted to see it through. He wanted to complete his social experiment. And I think that there's some backsplash that comes with that. I've gotten some additional hate since his video's gone up, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure other content creators probably have. Switchforce put out a video today. I think he put it out yesterday, technically, but then republished it today. Either way, he put out a video where he was quite upset, very upset. And I think that's an understandable feeling because BeatEmUps is a leader in the Nintendo YouTuber industry. While he creates very different content than Switchforce, myself, Sumbro Nation, the rest, he still is very much a leader in terms of we all look up to him. He's one of the biggest content creators for a reason. Very wholesome image. He seems to have done things the right way. He doesn't get the kind of hate and vitriol news channels do because he's not really a news channel. Every now and then he'll cover a hot topic news thing, but otherwise he's doing product reviews and game reviews and impressions and, silly, when he used to do like those unboxings and people would send stuff to his P.O. box, like he would just do these kind of silly videos that had this charm to it, this uniqueness to it. And he still does those videos to this very day. And, He did things in what many would consider the right way. So he gets much less vitriol over his content because he doesn't make content that can lead to disappointment. When you cover rumors and cover leaks and then certain things don't come true or don't ever get released, even if a leak is real, it's a real leak, but the product never comes out, it leads to disappointment, which leads to people thinking that you're just making a bunch of slop and they hate you. And this video is not here to make anybody like me. I've joked about this before, and I don't know if it's much of a joke as much as it might be reality. I'm probably one of the most hated Nintendo YouTubers out there because I cover rumors and leaks because of the titles I make or the clickbait thumbnail and titles, or maybe the simple editing that I've been doing in my videos. I've seen some people apparently be mad that I simplified the editing of my videos over the last year to fit better into my life schedule right now. As a full-time YouTuber, shouldn't things get better, more complex? But, they didn't. I simplified it for a reason. I could talk about that reason in a different video or on a live stream. But what's interesting is, while I'm getting additional hate now because I was featured in the video and some people think it was this big gotcha. One, I just want to clarify before I say anything else that me and BeatEmUps have nothing but respect for each other. I think he's a pretty decent guy that's also dealing with his fair share of backlash over the decision and what he did and the guilt of misleading people and hurting some people. That he does feel some guilt over that. And then you have, my side of the thing where, it's easy to watch that video and think, oh man, he's going after all these content creators when that's not really what he was doing. And again, he says it in the video that that's not what he was doing, but people will think he's just lying or take his words and twist them to be whatever. I actually don't think BeatEmUps was lying in anything that he did in that video besides the initial lie to set up the video. But that's my personal opinion. You guys are free to disagree. But what I wanted to say is I'm actually thankful the video exists. That's my overall takeaway, is I'm thankful it exists. Maybe somebody needed to do this someday on a bigger scale than the Waddle Dee Knows thing, which was something that John, who used to work at John Cartwright, I think he was like at Nintendo Life, and I think he's been at Game Explain, and maybe he's at Good Vibes Gaming now, I believe. He ran a social experiment as well with a fake Twitter account, which is kind of mocking, the Samus hunters and the people of the world to see how they could end up gaining traction by putting some highly educated guesses out there and have like one of them be correct, and then people start paying attention to the rest. And I've been caught in that trap before, and it was at the time a valuable lesson for myself. The difference was he didn't attach himself to it to use his credibility to make it spread. In this case, this was one of the biggest content creators in the world for Nintendo attaching themselves to it and their credibility to something like this, which made it go even more viral than anything the Waddle Dee Knows thing did. This was picked up by news websites, big news websites. tons of content creators across all social medias, tons of fans and everything else. Because obviously it was going to go more viral coming from someone like him. Now, he doesn't care that much if you watch the podcast about credibility because he doesn't leak. He doesn't do rumors. In fact, he hates that stuff. Believe it or not, BeatEmUps hates leaks and rumors. Absolutely. He detests them. He thinks conversations around them are fine, but he hates that they happen in the first place. And the reason I'm thankful for his video is because it led to me thinking a little bit about what I do. And I don't mean in terms of covering rumors and covering leaks. I don't feel any guilt over that kind of stuff. I absolutely will still be doing that moving forward because I literally talk about this stuff with the boys on the podcast and stuff like this behind the scenes before I even make videos. I really enjoy these conversations and I like having them with you guys as well. But you made me think about something that I don't know that this was ever intended from his video, but it made me think about a personal responsibility I have, not just to my audience, but to the greater Nintendo YouTuber community, to not go as far as I have gone at times with misrepresenting what's in the video. Clickbait. Look, he talked about it on his podcast, and I completely agree that all of us content creators know that if you use the word leak in a title instead of rumor, even if you use rumor throughout your video, you know that the title with the word leak in it or the thumbnail with the word leak in it is going to get more clicks. It's going to get more views than just using the word rumor. And I am well aware of the difference between those two words. Rumor, literally in its own definition, tells you to be doubtful. It's supposed to be something of dubious nature. It might end up becoming a leak in hindsight if it comes true, but at time, it is just a rumor. It's a form of hearsay. You know, people aren't providing direct proof or evidence that they know this 100%. They just say it, and it's up to us to decide what to do with that and discuss it. A leak is something more tangible. It is something like when the Pokemon company was hacked last year and we had actual files out there. That's a leak. Or even Next Handheld, you know, when he was posting photos of the actual Switch 2 from a manufacturer, regardless of the AI backgrounds, that's a leak. You can call that a leak because there's physical evidence. And that physical evidence can be interpreted as a leak. That's fine. But not something like what BeatEmUps said, not like what Nate the Hate said. Those are all rumors. And I know that. That's why in my videos, I'm very good about clarifying rumors and leaks. But I know in the title that leak's going to get more views. And so I was using that word to get more views. And while I don't think it's hurt the channel, we've been growing regardless of rumors coming true or not. I don't think it's overall like hurt the feelings of my audience. I do have an older demographic that watches my channel that I think actually watches those segments of the video. They don't just headline surf. There are people that do just headline surf, of course. I am no longer a small YouTuber. I'm not a large YouTuber by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm big enough that BeatEmUps found my video and put it in his, and he's the largest Nintendo content creator in the world. And if I'm big enough to get his attention with my video, then I'm no longer a small YouTuber. So that means I have a responsibility that comes with being a larger channel. And it's not just the responsibility to my audience. Yeah, obviously changing the word leak to rumor when it's a rumor is a responsibility owed to the audience. It's also a responsibility I think I owe to the greater Nintendo community that also covers news. He credited me in his video for being the very first YouTuber to get a video out on this. I think I got it out the same day. I have to never really verified that, but he gave me credit because it was the first video that popped up in his feed. So that's true. I'm pretty sure I was the first YouTuber to put out a video on it, and I used the word leak. Then a bunch of content creators did it after me and also used the word leak. Maybe if I'd used the rumor, maybe some of those content creators would have used the word rumor. Maybe I set a bad example. And while I'm not always the first person on the scene to covering various rumors and leaks, there are times that I am. And the bottom line is that as somebody who is not a tiny content creator anymore, I do have a responsibility to set better examples. And while I feel like the context I put in my videos are a great example of putting real information out there and proper context behind stories, I do feel like I kind of throw that all away by misleading in the title and thumbnail with the word leak when representing this to the rest of the YouTube community too. So I'm thankful that BeatEmUps did this because it made me finally take a step back, because I'm making content every day, doing live streams all the time, podcasts every week. And it made me step back and realize, yeah, I might be doing this full time and have been for a couple of years, but you know what? I'm no longer trying to be this up and coming channel that's just following in the footsteps of others. I'm also not like at the top of the food train and like a leader in this space, but I'm not nobody. I don't know how many views this video is going to get. 1,000, probably at least 10,000. That's what the average, on the low end has been lately, is 10,000. I don't know, but it could be 20, it could be 50. Beats me. I know my original video when I covered the BeatEmUps thing got 45,000 views. So I'm not nothing. And because I'm not nothing, I have this responsibility that should weigh on me more than it probably does. I don't want it to weigh on me so much that it brings me down, but it should weigh on me with some of the decisions I make. So yeah, I am no longer going to use the word leak when it's not a leak. I'm only going to use the word leak when it is a leak, regardless of how much I trust the place it came from. Like I really, the Nate the Hate stuff is wonderful and great. I think that he's well worth covering, but calling his stuff a leak is disingenuous. It's a rumor because we don't know and we have no real proof provided, right? To call it a leak. What we have is his word. So I'm going to do that moving forward. I'm going to use the word rumor instead of leak in my titles. I know not every title I make that's about rumors has rumor in the title, and I think that's okay. It depends on how you phrase things, but at the times I have used leaked in the rumor, a leak in the title or a leak in the thumbnail when it was actually a rumor. In situations where I've done that, I'm going to make sure that I'm using the word rumor instead. Now, besides that, just my general thoughts on the whole thing. I don't like being lied to, right? Even intentionally, even for a thought experiment, it never feels good. And, before I was a content creator, I was a fan of his channel, supported his channel monetarily. I think BeatEmUps is still a pretty decent dude. I would not have done what he did because I don't think lying to people is a good policy, regardless of what the overall idea is. But I also don't think that there was any ill intent here, any maliciousness intended, even though some people think that might be what he was trying to do. He was trying to call content creators like me out and bury us because he hates leaks and rumors. That's not at all the intent of his video. So, and definitely not the intent of him as a person, just having talked to him as a person away from the eyes of the public. So I'm just going to say, I don't think he should have did it. I don't think he did it for the money. He could have made any number of videos that would have got more views than that video got. And any number of ways he could get more views on his podcast than what he did with that. He could have titled, now if he had titled his podcast around, around leaking something or whatever, then yeah, he probably would have got more views then and you could argue more money. But I don't think he had a sponsor on the video or a sponsor on the podcast last night, at least not one that he was shouting out. And I think that was a smart move because then it looks like you're trying to profit off a given situation. And instead, I think he just wanted to see this thing through once he started the mess that got much bigger than he thought it would. So yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Sorry if you wanted me to be like super angry and super emotional, or if you wanted me to be like all buddy with him and be all happy. It's a complex situation. And my initial video I put out, I should have waited. I should have slept on it. I don't like making excuses, but you know, we had a really long podcast the night before, and we had a meeting after the podcast, and then I only got a couple hours sleep. Then we had the direct. I was taking care of my kids, and then another thing. So, like, there's a whole lot that was going on, but I don't like making those excuses. The bottom line is I didn't do what I usually do, which is sit back from a situation like this, ruminate on it, redigest it, and then come to some conclusions like I have now. I rushed to get a video out. One, because I hadn't had a video out yesterday, and two, it felt like it was really hard to make a news video. Well, that was weighing on my mind. But now my mind's pretty free. I feel all right. He did lie, but I still like the guy. Catch you in the next video.